the Healing Through Love podcast with Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. Explore the transformative power of self-love in grief with Ashmeeta Rama Madhav. Learn to navigate loss with compassion and mindfulness in episode 100.
And I have really found that forgiveness and gratitude kind of go hand in hand in some way. And the more I put forgiveness and the experience into perspective, like not holding on to it as if I'm owning this experience that has happened to me, this loss that I have experienced, the moment I decided to stop embracing that experience and making it my identity, but embracing the pain that came with that experience, once I started embracing that pain and working with that pain, I found myself in a very different space. At the same time, simultaneously practicing that gratitude all the time.
Yes.
And self-care is the other thing with gratitude. When you're grieving, you find yourself alone. You find yourself in a space where you don't feel like you belong in a lot of places that you belonged before.
Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast. This is a space where stories of strength, resilience, and transformation unfold. And I'm your host, Charlene Lynch, and I'm honoured to be your guide on this journey of empowerment and healing. Today, we have a very special guest. Each episode is tailored for you, whether you're driving the car, sipping a cup of tea, or taking a moment for yourself. I want you to know that you're in a safe place. Healing Through Love is more than a podcast. It's a community, a beacon of hope, and remember that you are not alone. In this episode, we have a great guest who will share a story that resonates with the core of our mission, a story that illuminates the power of love, resilience, and also unwavering strength that lies within each of us. Settle in, take a deep breath, and let the healing begin. Before we dive into today's inspiring narrative, a quick reminder that if you find value in our episodes, consider supporting us by subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your engagement helps us reach more hearts and spread the message of healing with love. Today, we've got an amazing guest, and our subject is talking about grief, a subject that is close to the hearts of many of us listening. Ashmeeta is an educator, a grief support advocate, an expert entrepreneur, author, and lifelong learner. She has been intimately acquainted with grief since her early 20s, having experienced miscarriage, rejection, the loss of her parents and husband, which exposed her to a range of profound emotions. Her story is one of love, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude, growth, and self-discovery, a narrative that resonates for all of those who have faced loss on their path of self-discovery and following loss. Hello, Ashmeeta, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's just start. We've got some great things to dive into. We're going to talk about in this episode, we're going to talk about your book. We're also going to talk about the challenge that you've got coming up. But we also really want to, let's get everybody on the same page here. Let's talk about grief, because sometimes when I have conversations with people, they say, oh, they might be in their 20s or their 30s and they haven't lost anyone who's been significant to them. And they feel that they're not in a process of grieving, but in fact they are. So let's just have a conversation about what loss is and what grieving is and how they're connected. Could you share that with us?
Yeah, sure. So, if you really think about it, grief comes from any loss that we experience. And loss is basically like, I mean, moving from one country to another, you're losing something. You're leaving behind something, and you in turn losing, right? You're not going to have that exact same thing wherever it is you go. So same applies with divorce, even with miscarriage, or any experience that one has where you're leaving something behind that was your normal life, your normal something that you're used to. It's going to bring a level of grief with it. Some grief we don't even realize we're going through grief, because it's like moving to a new country. You just get in there and you dive in and you do what you need to do, right? But things like miscarriage or rejection or death, those kind of hit home. It's a bit more personal. So because of that, the nature of that, we tend to um, be more hurt by that, feel more pain by it. And that pain is what makes grief so much more difficult from my experience.
Oh, yes. Okay. So for those who are listening today, and you might not even realize that you are in a space of grieving, can we have a conversation about what are the results, outcomes? What are the tangible things that are happening for a person that might indicate they're in a space of grieving, even if they don't even know that?
So when I look back through my experiences, and honestly speaking, I can only speak from my experience because I've lived this. So that kind of gives me the knowledge to kind of speak. It is things like just wanting to sort of alienate myself, not feeling like I fit in places, feeling sad, things just not making sense. It's that whole disconnect that one feels from what used to be normal once upon a time. And I think we've all been through it right now, every single human being with the pandemic.
Yeah, so true.
Right?
So we had a loss of identity during the pandemic. We had a loss of connection during the pandemic, and all of these things, even, your job might have pivoted. So you're experiencing that loss of that position, that job, that power, that perceived position even. So yeah, there's so many things. And, as an entire planet, we're in a
Yes.
space of loss and grieving. And if it's not happening directly to us, it's happening for people in different parts of the world as well. And we are affected by those by just watching them on television or listening to them or talking about them. And so, that brings us to that point where we are in a space of loss, which is then a space of grieving. Myself, I lost my beautiful baby boy when he was just a week off his 18th birthday. Now, for me, I experience grief differently than those people around me. And one thing that I know to be true is that everybody experiences grief differently. And we have this perception that you must grieve the same way as me. Like, I know that I got lots of feedback from family and friends that they didn't think that the way that I was grieving was the right way to grieve. So it's fascinating. It's a sticky subject, and we've got these social norms about how we expect people to behave. And in some people, some of our listeners that are listening today, you might not even know that you're in a space of grieving. But it's everything Ashmeeta has said, that you're not living the fullest life. Yeah, that you have that there's more in you, and that it could be this loss and grieving. Now, you've written an amazing book, which is a journey, and I love the way that you relate to a journey, because isn't that true? We're all on a journey. Can you tell us a little bit more about the book?
Yeah, sure. So my book is so I'll just tell you how the book came about, and then I'll tell you what's in the book. So the book came about as after I had lost my husband to pancreatic cancer in 2019. And about a year later, I was kind of just sitting around doing some meditation and things like that, which is one of the tools I use to help myself. And this thought came to me that, the amount of pain that I am feeling, the way I feel so stuck and lost and overwhelmed, I wonder if others feel the same way. And then I started doing some research and things. And through that, I just decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to put out what I'm learning as I go on this journey and have been on the journey for a long time. And just share it. Because at the end of the day, I really do believe that sharing our experiences helps the listener in some form or the other. So my book is basically my journey through the various different losses that I've experienced in my life, from rejection to miscarriages to the death of the three really key people in my life. Um, and it kind of just highlights the various different things that I found that helped me. It highlights a little bit about my mind and the kind of strange thoughts I found coming into my mind and ways that I found to work with that. Um, I have a lot of sayings in there because I really do use sayings as a way of motivation and inspiration for myself to keep me focused and on track. So the hopes, and it does also have at the end of each chapter questions to kind of, so it could be used as a workbook as well. Questions that people could, relate to their own lives and make some notes and things like that in there as well. So yeah, that's basically what the book is about and hoping to help.
I love it. I love it. So the book's called What's Your Story? And it's a journey with grief. And as we've identified already, most of us are in a space where we have got some level of loss. We might not even be labeling it as grief, but we know what the outcome is. We're not feeling amazing. We've got those levels of overwhelm, those feeling like maybe there's more, maybe I'm not enough, all of these sensations which can be related back to that you could be in a process of grieving. I love in your introduction, you talk about gratitude and you clearly use meditation as one of the tools to help you move through the process. So could we just maybe dive into talk a little bit about, before we talk about your challenge, but can we talk a little bit about gratitude and the power of healing with gratitude?
Oh yeah, for sure. As I kind of was going through the biggest grief, grief cannot be the same. I've lost three key people in my life, right? And each time the role that they played in my life is very different. So the loss that I felt is going to be different, right? Now I'm going to speak specifically here about the loss of my husband. When I lost him in 2019, everything that transpired after that pushed me into a space where I was really feeling overwhelmed because of the fact that we had built a life together for 23 years. We had an amazing life that we built together, the marriage, everything, whatever our family meant. It all disappeared the day he died, as far as I'm concerned, because we, the children and I, had to find a new reality. We had to start building our new normal, right? And what I found uh, on a daily basis, and sometimes initially, it would be something like every day, every hour, sometimes too, reminding myself, especially in those moments of overwhelm and confusion or feeling stuck, reminding myself of the various blessings that I've had in my life, and then sort of practicing gratitude towards the things that I had, the things that I have. It's two different things. What I had, I'm grateful for, but what I have, I'm also grateful for.
Yeah.
You know, um, and I have really found that forgiveness and gratitude kind of go hand in hand in some way. And the more I put forgiveness and the experience into perspective, like not holding on to it as if I'm owning this experience that has happened to me, this loss that I have experienced, the moment I decided to stop embracing that experience and making it my identity, but embracing the pain that came with that experience, once I started embracing that pain and working with that pain, I found myself in a very different space. At the same time, simultaneously practicing that gratitude all the time.
Yes.
And self-care is the other thing with gratitude. When you're grieving, you find yourself alone. You find yourself in a space where you don't feel like you belong in a lot of places that you belonged before. So that was something that I also realized, I've got to be grateful, but I've also got to start practicing some self-care. And I decided that I was going to call it parenting myself. So I decided that I was going to start parenting myself the way I parent my children, the level of compassion and empathy that I put into taking care of my children and other people that are important to me. Right now, the only thing and the only important thing is for me to sort of give that to myself, because I really honestly cannot expect it from any of my support system or anybody out there, because they don't know what I need. I don't even know sometimes what I need as I'm grieving. And that is a reality. We don't know what we need as we're grieving. It comes to us as we walk this road, as we walk this path, as we embrace the pain on an as needed basis when it comes up, So, yeah.
Wow, it's so true. Your message resonates really at soul level for me about forgiveness. On the night that my baby boy took his own life, I heard a message because I was praying for the ambulance officers to bring him back to life. But I was praying, and the response that I got was a very loud, and I thought everyone else could hear it, but I heard the word forgive. And obviously the message was for me. And so that night I was in a position to be able to say to my baby boy, as I was saying goodbye to him, that I forgive you for your choice. And what I noticed is that put me in a completely different frequency than the people around me, because I didn't go through on that night all the layers that everyone else did. I was coming from a space of an open heart, a space of forgiveness, and a space of gratitude. So very, very, very powerful frequencies that can help us move through the challenges that we've got. I love these tools: forgiveness, gratitude, meditation. They're all fantastic. And we'll find out more about all of these in the book, which is called What's Your Story? Now, I understand that you've got a challenge coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about this beautiful challenge? It's called Grief and Grow Challenge. Is that right?
Yes, it is called Grieve and Grow Challenge. So basically the challenge is I'm just inviting people to embark on a journey of healing and self-discovery with the challenge by, while we honor the memories of our departed loved ones. I also want to kind of put this challenge out there that, we could start embracing this opportunity to create a new tradition, to create new traditions and create a new life for ourselves. Because life is forever changing, it's evolving. So the way to do that is most of the information about the challenge. There's 5 different ways that you can take part in this challenge. All of that is on my website. But the gist of it is basically taking a picture and posting it on your Instagram profile, using the hashtag Grieve and Grow Challenge, and tagging your friends and anyone else along this healing journey that you're going on. So I'm hoping that would be beneficial and helpful and in some, little way healing for people. I find these little things really healing for myself. So hopefully it'll help others.
I love that. So, we're all having the same experience. So why not in a community help to move forward? And there's a different energy when we're working with other people. There's a different energy when there's a group of us moving through the problem to the solution that we're looking for, which is to live a more empowered life, to have more control and be more in charge of our emotions, and to not experience everything, because that's part of the human condition. We want to experience them, but we also want to do it moving forward as well. So we don't want to stay in that space of, we want to honor grief the way that it's meant to be honored. And it's not about forgetting the people that we love. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about having gratitude for what we did have with them, and honoring them, and also in their look, I know that I do what I do because my son's choice, and so it's in honor of him that I lean in, and we created this charity, Healing Through Love, and we created these Pamper Days so that others can have a different experience of this life. So I love the work that you do. It is so needed, especially post-pandemic, because this is something that the entire planet has experienced, unless you're living under a rock and you didn't notice it, but I'm sure you did, and it all affected us in different ways. And even if it's not grief and loss for a person, it's still grief and loss for the way life was, for connection, and all of the things that happened to us during that space. So now the link for the challenge, how will we find that? Is it going to be on the links that you send to us, or is it something that we find on your webpage?
I can send the links to you, but then it is also available on my website. All of the information is on there, but I will send it to you.
That's fantastic. So we've got all of those links that will be in the show notes and also in the show description, depending on how you're listening or watching today's episode. And reach out and connect with her to have a look at the book, What's Your Story, and the beautiful challenge, which is Grief and Growing Challenge, which is amazing. Wow, this is a hot subject, and everyone needs to have a conversation about it. And if you're listening on the other side going, yeah, I'm not grieving, I'm going to say perhaps maybe you are. And by going through the challenge, it'll open your eyes to see what you could be grieving about. And it could be something well and truly in your past that you have let go of, well, you think you have, but in fact, it's actually still there. So it would be a great way to dig that up and have a way to move through and get the different resolution that you're looking for. So if you're listening today and you are passionate about making a difference to other people, if you're listening today and you are a service provider or have got a way to help people who are experiencing family and domestic violence, reach out to us. We have Pamper Days in your local area. So in South Australia, which is Adelaide, and that is in Australia, for those who are listening, we have one here every year where we supply a Pamper Day for survivors. And what that looks like is, imagine a day spa on steroids. So we've got practitioners there. Some of them are talking, some are doing like hand massages, neck massages, facials, makeovers, hair, and they're holding the space. It's all for free for our survivors to come and experience that soft place to land, and that really an opportunity for self-care and self-worth. And so if you're listening today and you're a survivor, great, reach out, because we've got them happening all over the world. As of last year, Healing Through Love went global, and we are now running 8 different locations globally where we are running Pamper Days. So if you'd like to run your own Pamper Day, please reach out to us. We've got a free education service where we can take you through the process. If you're listening today and you are a practitioner and you'd love to be on the podcast, please reach out to us on Healing Through Love. We would love to connect, because together we can create a different environment. Together we can share these beautiful stories, just like you've been sharing, and together we can grow. I love it. Now, just in closing, because I know that we could talk about this subject all day, it's very, very dear to my heart. What would be your words of wisdom to our audience today?
I would say embracing grief with self-love is, on this journey is just so important for healing. And experiences do not own us. So keeping them as experiences and not letting them define or destroy us would definitely benefit us. So yeah, take that bold, just take that step and allow that healing to start happening. I know it pains, I know we feel stuck, but let's, be kind to yourself and take that step. You won't regret it, really.
I love it. I hope you're going to be joining us for the challenge that's coming up. The links will be on the website, but we'll also have them in the show notes and the show description. And yeah, dive in to have a look at the book. It's going to be amazing. I love this. Thank you so much for being our guest today and educating us on loss and grief and what it is that we can do to move forward. Thanks. So goodbye from me and a goodbye from Ashmeeta. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.